In this episode,
So we have around 40% of users on a yearly plan converting to at least one upsell, which is quite a big number. And obviously, as you go down, so let's say someone on a 6 month or 3 month plan and on a weekly plan, you will see that conversion decreasing. The higher intent they have, the more they'll be willing to spend later on because they already got their wallet out. I think it's very important to kind of understand how to monetize that intent and not kind of just leave it unattended because there is intent and they're gonna take their money elsewhere otherwise.
My name is Jacob Rushfin, founder and CEO of Botsy and the host of Price Power, the podcast for subscription apps to grow their revenue. Today we're talking with Cristian Rotari. Cristian is the monetization lead at Zing Coach, was a growth product manager at Lingokids, and also has independent consulting and advising. We dive deep into all things hybrid monetization, like why hybrid monetization is hard to get real guidance on, how the demand curve reframes pricing, why apps should start with in-app purchases, not ads, how do you add affiliate revenue, why you should sell more to paying users, not to free users, and much more. Hey, Cristian. Thanks for joining the podcast. Really excited to have you.
Thank you, Jacob. It's good to see you again. And yeah, I've been watching and listening to some of the other guests that you had on the podcast, and I hope to be on the level.
Oh, I'm sure you will be, but amazing you're listening. Really, really excited to chat today. So, today we want to chat hybrid monetization. I think this is a really interesting and a topic that's growing in importance quite a lot recently. But I don't think there's tons of people with real in-depth experience in hybrid monetization. So this is one of the reasons I was quite excited to chat with you and kind of hear your takes from your experience and from looking at other apps and your consulting work. So to start, can you give everybody an explanation of hybrid monetization? What is it? And then maybe some different types of monetization tactics for apps?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I think hybrid monetization is a bit of a buzzword, but you do see a lot of talk about it, but it's very hard to find, a proper guidance, I would say, regarding this topic. And it was mostly done before by games. So the gaming industry was doing a lot of hybrid monetization, but now more apps are doing this as well. And it's not just subscriptions and ads. There's multiple ways of doing it, right? There's credits for the like in the tokens and so on. There's enough purchases, physical products, affiliate, et cetera, et cetera. So there's multiple ways of combining all of these type of monetization layers. Yeah, there's a very wide range, and you see a lot of apps doing different type of layering. For example, TikTok, they're doing ads. They have you can buy all of this coins as well. You have Spotify, they're doing different subscriptions, ticketing, merchandising, etc. So there is, yeah, a wide range of examples out there.
Yeah, I think it's an important point to note that it's not just ads, right? This is traditionally what people think about, especially coming from the subscription app world. You go, okay, I have a subscription. Now, can I add ads? And that's not always the best first thing to do, but we can get into kind of all the different options and how to kind of structure different tactics. But yes, essentially hybrid monetization, multiple monetization tactics at its core. And so you gave a presentation recently around this, I think at Apps Forum, and in this you reference the kind of demand curve framework, and this idea that subscriptions are binary or kind of a single price. Someone paid or they didn't. But in reality, willingness to pay is not binary. It's distributed across many different willingness to pay. There's different ways to monetize users, and there's different kind of demand levels. When did that concept first click for you, and how did it change how you think about monetizing the apps you've been working with?
Yeah, this demand curve, first heard about it from Thomas Petit, and we worked together at Lingokids before, when I was a growth product manager there. And I remember even back then, we were doing a lot of price testing, and there is a point at which you're like, okay, how, like, what else can I do to, kind of make the to move the needle, right? And I remember at the time, Thomas came up with some ideas regarding, like printables as an in-app purchase, and that was back in, I think, 2022, so a few years ago already. But yeah, overall, I think the concept is that you do a lot of optimization around pricing, and you try to move the needle there, as I said earlier. But you have those users that will purchase no matter what, let's say, right? And those are what you could call whales. And then you have the plankton, as Thomas said as well, that no matter what you do, they're not going to convert, right? So there is a point in which apps can start introducing hybrid monetization after they have, let's say, optimized a lot their subscription model, their current subscription model, to start monetizing the different segments of users, right? So that's when you can come in and introduce this different type of monetization to go after the whales, right? Maybe, try to get some more revenue out of that, or to try to kind of come to find some middle ground to convert that plankton, let's say.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's interesting to think about that. It's not necessarily, um, you're showing users different plans or packages. It's that some people will never pay, some people will pay, some people will pay many times and more than you think they will. And so for the users who will pay, maybe it's stacking different types of monetization tactics for those people because they love your product or they get a lot of value. And then some users are will never pay for a subscription in their life. Don't just are extremely adverse, but they're still using your product. And I guess at its core, this is because of the freemium model, right? That um, you have users using your app, and this freemium model is built on the idea that um, you convert only a small percentage of those people, and those people kind of sustain the rest of your user base. And of course, you can give away different levels of value for free. But is it right that there's a lot bigger hybrid monetization opportunities if you have that large free or freemium model?
For sure. I mean, the biggest apps out there are doing some sort of hybrid monetization. So, social apps like Instagram, TikTok, they are doing ads as the main stream of revenue, but then they have also some subscriptions to remove ads, kind of enforced by GDPR and so on. But then they're also introducing like other things, like you purchase your blue check mark and so on. And then for many of them, let's say YouTube, the biggest USP for YouTube Premium is you need to pay to remove the ads, right? Which is kind of, let's say, the biggest pain for users. It's not so much about what else you get. It like, okay, you can download videos and so on and so on, but it's specifically about removing those ads. So um, I think the bigger the apps, especially these social networks that I mentioned as well, they rely a lot on ads as the first one, and then going into some in-app purchases and subscriptions, and then other ones, that do let's say My Fitness Pal, for example, is one example. They do ads, and it's kind of to cover for that amount of users, that large amount of users that they have using the app for free, that won't convert. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you think this is a bit of a tangent, but do you think that from what I see, any a lot of apps are starting with hard paywalls today? That essentially means they have no free user base or freemium product. Do you think that to get big, to reach large scale, you have to have some free product or have to have some free version of your product? When I look in the market today, essentially any very large company, maybe like 95% of them essentially have operate on this freemium model.
I think that is true. And we saw it at Zing as well. When I joined a couple of years ago, there was even no trial on the app, and it was just like a hard paywall. It wasn't well, it was kind of a skippable paywall, but yeah, there was no trial. It was the barrier to enter the app and to start using was was a blocker there. So as soon as we opened the gates a bit and eased down on the paywalls and on the rules, we saw that we could get more users, especially on that, kind of, let's say, not so ready to pay, but those would bring more users as well later. So for sure, doing some sort of freemium is important in this case.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point to think about that as you scale, freemium not only unlocks hybrid monetization tactics to monetize those free users, but also increases your ability to grow organically because the larger user base you have, the more opportunity you have for word of mouth and people sharing. And so once you get good at converting the users, moving away from a hard paywall to a soft paywall and a freemium model, you're probably not losing too much subscription conversion because you're pretty good. You figured out how to convert people to subscriptions. And so maybe you lose a couple percentage points in terms of trial start rates, maybe. But in the
Mhm.
end, it's net positive for your growth.
Yeah, I think that also, if we look at it the other way around, so I think yes, freemium is important for growth, and but when we talk about especially hybrid monetization, and when we talk about these whales, right, we would see that we could have some sort of, let's say, pricing that made sense as long as we started doing some price kind of increases, the conversion would drop. So we didn't want to make it too restrictive. Therefore, we would keep some sort of balance to allow for these users who had intention to pay to convert. Then obviously you have some plans for others that maybe are not so ready. But then we would see a lot of these users, a very big chunk, I would say, of these users who converted, then convert into some in-app purchases, and to upgrade their plan and so on. So I think it goes both ways, right? So it depends on how you want to grow. You can do also not just monetize your plankton, you can also monetize your whales.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so, when is the right time to start thinking about adding different types of monetization methods in terms of your app growth maturity? Is this only a mature strategy for the largest apps? Should newer apps care about this? When should you start prioritizing these types of tactics?
I think that this is not a day zero or even a day one type of thing. You have to nail product market fit. You want to nail one specific monetization model. In most of the cases would be subscriptions. And then from there, once you understand the behavior of your users, once you can segment your users, then you can go and try to add new monetization layers. And that can be, in-app purchases, it can be consumables or non-consumables, it can be ads if you have the volume for it. But I think that, yeah, probably let's say, kind of the easiest is once you have found some sort of ceiling, let's say, to your pricing experiments and your packaging experiments, that's when you want to start looking at other models as well. And personally, I would start for most of the apps with some sort of in-app purchases, because ads really are not for everyone. Ads are a volume business, and they are not easy to manage. So yeah.
That makes sense. And adding on IAPs or other purchase types in your product also just fits in with your existing subscription model. Probably to start, you're probably running them through Apple and Google as well. You don't have different payment processors, different kind of platforms to manage. It all is kind of consolidated. You understand these mechanics much better for paywalls also, and so it's probably an easier thing to add on. This makes a lot of sense. One question um, I had, and I think this is more important recently, is with AI apps, where uh, potentially it is a earlier tactic you need to do for AI apps because of the cost layers, because of the token costs. How do you think about in-app purchases, credits, subscription model for these apps that have these different kind of cost layers than a traditional subscription product?
That's a very good question, and I think it's one of the biggest, let's say, problems that we see out there. A lot of founders are just kind of like opening the gates, and they're like, "Oh, we have a free trial. Come try our app," and then they wake up in the morning and some power user just spent thousands of dollars in worth of tokens, and they're just like shocked about it. So you have to be very smart about how, as an AI app, you're going to price and how you're going to, let's say, let users try your product. At Zing, for example, we have an AI coach, and the AI coach is integrated with OpenAI API, and we obviously have to pay specific, amount of money per each request. And at first, it was only available for premium users because it was kind of, like calculated within the business model. But then we were like, okay, this is one of the main things that Zing has, one of the main value propositions. So how do we allow for users to try it out? And that's when you want to model it a bit. You want to understand what is the pricing that you have right now. Let's say average user, how much they're spending on it. Um, and we did some calculations back in the day, and okay, do we allow trial users? Do we allow free users to talk with the coach? And how much can we allow them to do that? Like it's not just going to be a chat. Some of them they um, will upload pictures and ask AI to analyze their meal and so on within that chat. And it's even more terrible for apps that are doing actually image generation, for example, not just recognition, but generating images. That's like really burning tokens. So yeah, you have to be very careful about it. I think many of the apps today, they're not even allowing their trial users to use up a lot of these tokens. Maybe they have some sort of limit that they know, okay, they can get some value from here and then they can unlock more. Um, but yeah, it's a bit of, I would say, whole podcast conversation about AI apps. There's a couple of very interesting articles from Alice Muir. She was on your podcast before, and yeah, she has a couple of articles, especially on this. So I just recommend whoever's listening to check it out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. That yeah, Alice and I did a podcast a couple episodes ago, and yeah, she has some really great thinking. But and for AI apps, it's not necessarily, you shouldn't think about it as hybrid monetization. It's kind of the status quo. If you're bolting on an AI feature, it's a little different, right? A little different
Mhm.
cost structure. But if you're an AI app that has image or video or some type of generation, like it's, you shouldn't think about it as hybrid monetization. You just need credits, you need in-app purchases. It gets a little more complicated and sophisticated from day zero, and so that's probably, yeah, the one exception, right? Most apps don't think about this. Focus on your core business. For AI apps, you gotta, there's different cost structures. You have to think about it earlier. That makes a lot of sense. And so one piece you alluded to a couple minutes ago is that ads aren't right as a starting point for everybody. But I think that most apps, this is the default. You go, oh, well, I can put some ads to show to my free users. Can you elaborate on why ads aren't a great starting point for most apps?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think ads are a volume business. So if you have a very limited user base and you try to get, let's say, more revenue from ads, you're probably not going to succeed because there's a few things that you need to take into consideration. So number one is that in order for you to set up the whole infrastructure around ads in your app, it's gonna take some work, right? So not only the technical part, but also the UX part and how do you integrate that into the product and so on. So that whole thing is going to take some time. Then you need to consider other things such as, okay, where does it make sense? Does it make sense to, kind of introduce it in certain points? What is the session length in this case? Like, what would be the impression rate? Like all of the different like modeling around it, and the different like entry points and so on is going to be one of those not so fun things to work with. Um, and I think that at certain levels, for most small to medium apps, they will probably get more money from in-app purchases or other type of hybrid monetization than from ads. I remember doing some like calculations around this, and yeah, ads will almost always lose when we're talking about smaller apps.
Yeah. I believe the important point that people don't think about is they see all these games monetizing through ads. Let me know if this is correct, that most subscription apps don't have the frequency of usage necessary to or the volume of usage plus the frequency of usage, where you need daily active users and you need a in that usage you need a long session so you can show multiple ads and show high value ads that actually earn you money, and then you need to be doing that every day for these users to actually, and this is why it works for these kind of games versus subscription apps where it's a workout app. You use it once a week, you open it up, use it for a little bit. You're not maybe not in the app the full time, and so I think this is an important distinction people forget too.
For sure. I mean, we can take a couple of examples. I think Duolingo is the classic example, right? They have ads, and now they have ads after each one of the lessons. So you do a lesson, it's like super short time. they kind of, reward you with some sort of, let's say, psych, yeah, you did it, great, next lesson. But in the meantime, let's watch an ad. And they also combine, by the way, what we were talking about earlier, that uh, one of the main, um, let's say, drivers of subscriptions for Duolingo, but also like YouTube, for example, is you can just remove the ads. So they have ads that are either, let's say, partners, or they have ads that are uh, just Duolingo, their max, and the other tiers, so you can just convert to Duolingo. So it's kind of a funny thing to, you do get the ads, but they are actually Duolingo ads. Then you also have, as another example, apps that are more utility like. You have a flight radar, right? So you see a plane flying overhead, you're like, okay, I'm gonna check which plane this is. You try to open it, and you have to watch, a 15-20 second ad. You have to wait for that, and then you're like, okay, good, let me see what model of the plane that is, and then you get another ad, right? So like it's kind of like blocking you in this, let's say, core actions. um and obviously flight radar, and they have a lot of users, but they do have all of these, let's say, core actions, where you really want to get some sort of information or some sort of, kind of gratification, and that's when they very smartly place the ads.
Yeah, and so it's not even about just adding ads. It's about, is your product engaging enough, interesting enough, and offering enough value that people just won't leave? Is there enough incentive on the other side for people to watch the ad and still want to continue? Where probably for a lot of apps, it's going to be a net negative. People are just going to leave. They're going to lose users, fewer subscribers. They get a little revenue, but it won't actually improve things, and their time will be better spent elsewhere. I think this is really helpful to understand the difficulties of ads, and it's harder than it looks to make this work, have it be right for your business. And so we talked about we're talking about in-app purchases and kind of upsells. I want to talk a little bit more about upgrades and upsells in a minute, but let's go through some other types of monetization tactics, and maybe some examples of those. So I think you've also talked about affiliate deals and physical products. Can you tell me more about those?
Yeah, so affiliate is an interesting one, right? Because you might have, first of all, a subscription. And then those users that are, let's say, using that subscription, they might find some sort of like products inside of your app. And then you are generating some additional revenue through affiliate links. But maybe someone doesn't have a subscription, and then you can still use that revenue. An example of an app doing affiliate very well is Lovey Skincare. So they scan your face with AI. You do a selfie, kind of like you do from like multiple angles, and they tell you, okay, you have this imperfection here, you have this acne here, whatever, and then they recommend different products that are kind of rated specifically for those things that you need in order to, like those products that you need to improve certain conditions. Um, and the way that they integrate affiliate in their product is, I think, very smooth. You should check it out. It's very interesting.
Are
Then I would
there
say,
what
yeah, sorry.
what one question? Are there kind of standard SDKs or platforms to add affiliate deals, affiliate products? Do you have to build that yourself, or are there just platforms that can basically facilitate the end-to-end experience for you? Do you know?
Uh, I'm not so sure, to be honest. I know like Amazon, for example, they have affiliate links, and anyone can use that. So it's super super easy to do. You don't really need a separate platform. You'll see that with apps. You'll see that with YouTubers. They always have like some sort of affiliate links from Amazon. So it could be a good way to start if you want to test something without having to do any, sort of difficult implementations. It's just a URL with some sort of, appendix on that URL that would give you some additional revenue if someone bought something through it.
Got it. Got it. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Was there anything else on affiliates? Like, who does this make sense for?
It's a good question. I think it has to be um, probably a use case where you can recommend different type of products outside of your app without really, kind of cannibalizing anything inside of the app. Now that my wife and I are expecting a baby, we're been like through so many different apps and trying to kind of see what's out there. And there's like see how to dress your baby today, like your temperature in the house, or if you're like going to be going outside and it uses location, and then it's like, oh, actually, you know what, you want some products that would match today, like weather, today's like outfit, check these out. So I think it's especially about those apps that really have that use case of like being able to recommend products out there. Even like Spotify, they can recommend concerts, right? Like you have your favorite artists and Spotify, and they know that. They know who your favorite artists are, and they know where you live, because they have access to your location, and they recommend concerts around you, or they can just recommend merchandise from your favorite artists and so on. So kind of that sort of, let's say, linking as well those products to your experience. So if I'm in Spotify and they're recommending me baby products, that'll be weird, right? So it has to be that kind of sort of value linking, Strava, and they're saying, hey, actually, maybe these shoes are nice for you, even though they don't do that. But that would be an example.
Yeah. So, what is the core value, and how do you extend that value and connect onto it in a non-intrusive, weird way that
Exactly.
people actually appreciate? This makes sense. I was talking to some app founders that have the kind of like barcode scanner to detect healthy foods. I was saying to them, hey, maybe you have a lot of influence over people's purchasing decisions and recommending healthy foods to them. This could be something you could think about, some type of affiliate links, or and this is maybe a good transition into the next one of actual physical products. And is this a brand like creating their own products? Is it the licensing from other brands? How do you think about that? What have you seen there?
I think it's multiple ways of looking at it. We have at Zing, one of our main competitors is Better Me. And Better Me, they're doing a lot of things well. They're referencing, in-app purchases and web funnels, etc. And they have an online store where you can buy, equipment for Pilates, for yoga. You can buy, like clothing as well. So it's kind of taking those users that are already familiar with your brand, and they trust you and they're paying for a subscription already, and then you can offer on top of that something physical that is again linked to the product usage, right? Because you do Pilates with the app, and then on top of that you're wearing the outfit that you bought from the Better Me store. And then another example is Lingokids, and if you want to do some offline kind of gaming with your child, you can buy a memory game from the website that is Lingokids branded. So it kind of stays within the brand. And those physical products can be extensions of your brand. The most likely they will still be purchased just by your users, not so much, by, let's say, external users. But it's a good way to kind of keep monetizing the current user base.
Yeah, and standing up an e-commerce shop is so much easier than it used to be. Like you never even have to have physical products ever touch any warehouse you own. Can all just be managed by third parties. And I see All Trails doing this as well. All Trails has a big shop online, and I still get emails for their new backpack they launched. Even though I don't really use All Trails much, so yeah, that makes sense. I saw at Zing you guys have done a lot of partnerships recently. Is I feel like this is a harder tactic, and you have to have a larger brand to kind of think about partnerships. Maybe not. How do you think about partnerships?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a few partnerships recently. So we have a new partnership with PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, the football club, which were champions of Europe last year, and they're playing the final again this year. Then we did some partnership with Les Mills. They have a very big on-demand library of body pump and other type of exercises, which we also allow our users to purchase. And then we're doing a partnership with New York sports clubs where their users, their gym members are getting Zing at a specific fee with a branded experience inside of Zing that matches New York Sports Club. So, challenges from them, and the kind of the app looks different, more on brand for them, and so on. So there's like different ways to monetize. It kind of goes both ways. One of the examples can be, you know. Again, Spotify doing some sort of partnerships with some big artists, where they're doing partnerships with record labels on kind of vinyls and so on, or Strava doing partnerships with Adidas, or with Nike on challenges, and then kind of giving visibility to the brand through certain in-app mechanics to drive activation with those brands. So there's a lot of kind of ways to drive partnerships out there. I know I've just given you like so many different examples, so I'm happy to stick to one of them, and maybe we can like go deeper into it.
No, those are great, and I think this partnerships in B2B are kind of intimately connected, right? Where sometimes, if I break down some of the things you've talked about, sometimes it's that you are allowing people to monetize their product through your user base, and you're giving people access to your user base. Sometimes this is more kind of a white label experience where you're creating something custom. You have built this product. It's very easy for you all to kind of create something custom on top of what you did, like the New York Sports Club. And actually, I go to New York Sports Club. I saw it on the TV there, and I was like, I bet Cristian had some involvement in that, and so it was a funny connection. And I was like, I'm going to bring this up and ask him about it. So, and I think that's a lot of people see maybe what like Calm has done with like B2B employer sales, selling their subscription and bundling it as a kind of wellness or health offer. Now, not every app could do this, but fitness apps, wellness apps, they can have this be kind of an employer benefit. And maybe this is less of a thing in Europe, I don't know, but in the US, all these everyone's trying to sell to these employers, and it's give more benefits, bundle it into your kind of what you get as an employee. And so I think that's a big business as well. And so I think again, but it's how do you How do you extend your product value? And I think that people underestimate these. Like with an app, you actually have, compared to a lot of other products and a lot of other companies, you have like massive amounts of users and visibility. Like don't underestimate how many the eyes and impressions you have in your product. Like if you're an app and you have 1 million downloads, like when you compare to other apps, you go, oh, I'm not very big. I only have 1 million downloads. There's apps with 10 million, 20 million users. But when you compare it to other products and businesses, this is so many people, right? And so I think that's the important part to think about. Don't underestimate just the amount of eyes that you can take advantage of that are in your product.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. I think if the math works and there's some sort of way that you can collaborate, and that you have the, let's say, resources to work on this type of collaboration, then it's one of, additional layers that we've discussed that you can keep monetizing, and you can keep expanding your app and your
Yeah,
revenue streams.
yeah. So on the flip side, we want to talk about cannibalization. You mentioned a few times whenever you're thinking about a new monetization tactic, you have to make sure it's actually adding to the whole and not taking away from the whole. How do we how do we think about cannibalization? How do we measure this? What are your thoughts there?
So I think, to give you an example of better me, again, this is obviously, I hope some, like, if someone at Better Me listens to this and they're like, no, actually, you're wrong. That's not what we do it. But they have obviously the subscription as the main driver, but then they have also some sort of short-term programs like, 28-day abs challenge. So maybe someone is like, okay, I don't know if I want 12 months of this. I don't want to commit for 12 months to work out every day, but yeah, getting abs in 28 days, why not? Let's do that. So it's kind of like one of those ways that we mentioned earlier about monetizing users with less intent, right? To kind of give them some sort of products that are not necessarily going to be, you don't need a subscription for that. It's kind of like, okay, here. So at Zing, we have some in-app purchases as well. So we have a body scan that scans your body and kind of gives you body composition results, muscle analysis, and so on. We have a nutrition guide where you have, let's say, all of the data that you've put into the app, and then we can personalize some sort of meals, and your calorie intake, and so on for you. Yeah, what we've seen is that whenever we have kind of the life cycle of how we promote things and how we try to engage users with all of this, we would always try to sell subscriptions to those who are free users. Only then, when they have converted either into a trial or just into a paid subscription, that's where we kind of come in with other things, because the, let's say, willingness to pay of these users is already quite low. So if you are trying to, get someone who's not willing to pay a lot, to first purchase a, let's say, nutrition guide for $25, then they're gonna see something like 3 months of Zinc Premium for another $30, and they're going to be like, oh no, I already spent this much. I don't want to spend that much on that, right? So their willingness to pay is already low. Somehow they managed to spend some money, right? So that's why from subscriptions, that's where we will get the most revenue and like LTV over time. So we don't really want to kind of push them into these like one-time purchases. We want to push subscriptions first, and then from there, kind of build up and to see, okay, do we want to upgrade them into this? Do we want to give them less meals content? Do we want to, ask them if they're on a 3-month plan to upgrade to a yearly plan, because this way they will be getting, more value over time for like less money, and so on. So this is a bit of an oversimplification, I would say, but obviously you should, test for your app, and see what are those things that you will be, kind of promoting in the short span, I would say, of a free user in the app, because I think for most of the apps, it's true that once someone is a free user, they go through onboarding, and if they decline the onboarding paywall, which most of the apps have an onboarding paywall, you really have a very short amount of time to convert these users into a paying user in any shape or form that might be, either a subscription or in a purchase, or whatever. And therefore you really have to kind of choose your battle one after the other, instead of trying to kind of push too many things at the same time, overwhelm the user, and then maybe go with things that on the long term are not going to be that valuable for you either. So
I think
um
that's super interesting, that distinction of my intuition says, oh, well, someone didn't convert to a subscription. Let's sell those free users additional plans or options or one off purchases. But really, it's that someone buying a subscription has told you they have high intent. Well, you should maximize that intent and that level of purchase. And so sell the people that have already purchased something that actually are getting value from your product, that want the product, additional options or additional packages. And that's going to be more fruitful, because if subscription is your core business, don't try to don't block that. Still always be trying to build your core business. But for people who have already told you they have high intent, those are the people you should be trying to kind of maximize the ARPU or the LTV from.
yeah, exactly. I mean, just to give you an example, at Zing, especially on the web funnel, we have, first you buy a subscription, then you create your account, and then we say, hey, would you like to add this and that? Certain users, especially those on the yearly plan, convert very, very well to these, upsells and upgrades. So we have around 40% of users on a yearly plan converting to at least one upsell, which is quite a big number. And obviously, as you go down, so let's say someone on a 6-month or 3-month plan and on a weekly plan, you will see that conversion decreasing. So the higher intent they have, the more they'll be, willing to spend later on, because they already got their wallet out. So might as well, okay, let's buy this and let's buy that. And I think it's very important to, kind of understand how to monetize that intent, and not kind of just leave it unattended, because there is intent, and they're gonna take their money elsewhere otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, that it makes a lot of sense. I think that's a great nugget for people to take away and think about with kind of real examples there. Okay, so one last topic I want to talk about here is subscription tiers. Um, different packages, a light plan, a pro plan, a premium plan. This isn't exactly hybrid monetization, but it's similar, it's related, monetizing users different ways, trying to get at their willingness or ability to pay. Have you tried tiers? What have you learned from there? When is this a good idea to test out different subscription tiers?
Yeah, I think they are not necessarily hybrid, but they can also clash with hybrid, right? So if you have tiers, but then you have in-app purchases, and then you have, some. affiliate and so on, then what you're doing there is kind of like making a bit of a UX mess. But also in terms of like the value that you try to communicate to users, right? So in I would say that one of the most important things for tiers is that you really need to have a good understanding of your user segments and the jobs to be done for this user segments, right? So I'm gonna go back to Spotify as an example. Spotify, they are not doing, pro, premium, etc. They could be doing, let's say, oh, you're getting AI recommendations, and you're also getting lossless audio and whatever, but they're actually segmenting more for the actual use, right? So it's an individual plan, it's a family plan because, or duo, or you're a
Right.
student and so on. So they're not trying to kind of overcomplicate their offering, and they really are trying to kind of say, okay, maybe, someone is, sharing Spotify with their partner. So let's just do a dual plan, in this way, you just get more people to join, and you have more, let's say, better retention over time. In Zing, we have introduced the Les Mills, as I mentioned, which I would say that one of the important things as well to do is that you don't offer things that are kind of expected to be in that basic plan either. So I think that when someone is converting to Zing, they're not really, kind of expecting that they will also get access, to a huge library from Les Mills with, all of this content for body pump, etc. They want a personalized workout plan. And that comes at an extra cost that only some users will get, right? So therefore, you are not overcomplicating your offering. You're making sure that things kind of go one by one, and it's very similar to also dating apps, right? So is it like Tinder Gold? I don't even remember these names, but there's just so many, like, and now I think they've introduced some like crazy expensive one as well, right? And this is all about usage. Like, okay, here, this is like your basic one. Here you're gonna have already some sort of, mm, let's say something is going to happen. You're gonna get more super likes or more boosts and whatever. And this one is really going to maximize success for you, right? So it's like it depends on how much money do you want to spend in order to achieve that success. But nobody's really expecting that in their free, or let's say not free, but their basic plan, they're gonna get 10 boosts a month, because the value, let's say, ladder is very clearly explained to them. And that's something that I think most apps trying to do all of this pro, premium, etc., they're not really understanding. They're just kind of trying to package things in there without having that, sort of value ladder clearly defined and clearly understanding the user segments that they have.
Yeah, that is a great point. That's like a lot of this, you should be very thoughtful and careful about how you layer in these different tactics. And that's ultimately the key is kind of understanding your users, what value they're getting, what are they expecting from your app. And if you want to add tiers, don't take away things, add value, and maybe add that as an additional tier that is goes above and beyond. That is a great insight. Okay, so I've got last couple questions in our kind of quick lightning round here. So what is a hot take? What's a hot take on subscription apps you'd get maybe pushback from people on LinkedIn or X from?
I I think to go back into the topic of segmentation, somehow to kind of relate it to that. There's a bit of a, you know, uh, hot topic as well right now within should you use trials, should you not use trials in your app? And then there's people saying, hey, should I remove trials from my app? How does this work? And it's kind of like, should you first maybe try to understand your audience, if they are expecting a trial or not, kind of if your product will have the nature kind of to allow for a trial or not, before just saying kind of like, okay, I'm going to remove the trial and see how it works, right? Like, that is to me a more, let's say, powerful first question to answer, right? So is it, is your audience very, very young? Maybe the mechanics of trying an app and going through an onboarding, seeing a paywall, okay, 7-day trial, I'm going to see how this works, etc. Or is it a different type of usage? Maybe your audience is also older and they're kind of expecting some sort of immediate access that doesn't necessarily include a trial. So this all comes down to like the value and the segmentation, and people should really start with that first instead of just saying, should I remove the trial or not? And this is going to give me some sort of advantage in signal engineering and what I'm going to be sending back to the networks.
Yeah, that's hard though. I have to actually do user research or maybe do user interviews, look at the data, not just throw something out there and see if it works. But yes, that ultimately, usually that's the right move. That's great. Okay, last question we ask every guest: what's the biggest pricing or packaging win you've ever seen or had yourself?
I think I'm going to reference again something that we discussed. And in this case, it's about introducing a body scan to Zing. So this was done before I joined, right before I joined Zing. But this body scan and the way that really converted people into this type of enough purchase really made a difference for the unit economics of Zing Coach. Just to give you some, let's say, data on that, by day 30, I think it was like 25% of the revenue of RPPU was coming from upsells, which really allows you to spend more money, to reinvest money more quickly into your UA budget. And yeah, I'm still surprised to kind of look back and to kind of see the impact that this one, in-app purchase, what it did to, let's say, the unit economics of Zing. So whoever did that, they did a very good job.
Yeah, that's an amazing lift. That's I think probably some people can take some inspiration and are probably, if you made it to the end here, you're thinking about that already. Okay, well this was amazing, Cristian. I really appreciate you joining. Packed full of kind of real experience and learning. So this was a really great. I really appreciate you joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure talking to
Anything
you.
anything else you'd like to share or promote? Go check out. Cristian has some articles and contributions to other articles. Go Google his name. We'll try to link some in the show notes. Anything else you'd like to promote or have people go check out?
No, not really. I could give everyone a extended trial to Zing Coach if they want to try it out. We can put it in there, but not really.
Okay. Well, I think I know some clients and you've done some consulting work, and so if you're interested in potentially working with Cristian, maybe he's full capacity, but go follow him on LinkedIn, shoot him a message.
Thank
Uh,
you. Thank you, Jacob.
yeah. Okay. Well, this was great. I really appreciate it. Yeah, yeah. We'll talk soon. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Please go to pricepowerpodcast.com to see all the episodes. Go to Spotify and YouTube and give us a subscribe and follow so you don't miss any episodes. All right, talk to you next time.